for Penn State, but he had some baggage. I love Drew Rosenhaus, but he's Drew Rosenhaus's client. Okay, so there's Drew Rosenhaus's history as he represents guys that got some stuff. So Abdul Carter, he was advised to get surgery for an injury. He's like, nah, there was some stuff that people didn't love about it. But I'm like, hey, he's coming to the league, but he apparently asked to wear Lawrence Taylor's jersey number 56. That is so ridiculous. That is like going to the Yankees and saying, can I wear number 2? That's going to the Lakers. Can I wear number 32? Yeah, there's this guy named Magic. Lawrence Taylor, Bill Belichick won't say this. He always throws Brady in. But Belichick is a defensive coach. Privately, but I believe that he thinks Lawrence Taylor, not Brady's the best player he's ever had. Because Belichick doesn't get any credit for Tom Brady. Josh McDaniel gets it. Brady gets it. Dante Scarnecchia gets it. Lawrence Taylor, that's Bill's side of the ball. Lawrence Taylor, I don't even think it's arguable. There's only 2 players that I think you could even argue are the greatest defensive player ever. Lawrence Taylor is the greatest, and Reggie White's second. But Lawrence Taylor's ability to just blow up every play from the outside. Now, I think Aaron Donald gets some arguments as the second or third best player, but I think Darnold is Reggie White minus 5%. Could be wrong, but you don't ask for Lawrence Taylor's jersey. Then Phil Simms says, well, he can have my number 11, and Phil Simms' family's like, no, he can't. Don't do that, Dad. Don't be nice. Here's the thing. In life, all you young players, row your own boat. Make your own legacy. How about you learn to carry a veteran's bag before you take his jersey? This screams of entitlement. It screams for lack of self-awareness. Those jerseys are retired. And it's not like it just, it was a tight end in the 50s. Lawrence Taylor is the greatest New York Giant. And he played, in a franchise with Michael Strahan. Strahan would tell you that's the greatest New York Giant ever. If you didn't get to watch Lawrence Taylor live, the YouTube doesn't do him clips. It was like Mike Tyson in his prime. Mike Tyson scared other heavyweight fighters. Like Lawrence Taylor, people couldn't sleep playing him. He disrupt and Lawrence is, I don't know if he practiced. There were times he showed up literally during jumping jacks and just waded onto the field.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. Let's have a nuanced conversation about this. I want to be able to unpack this in many different directions, and really go in depth with this one, because this is a more interesting situation that I see happening here. And the truth is, this is a lens. This is a situation where we can look at this through so many different lenses, and it all depends on which perspective do you want to take? Do you want to give the more forgiving perspective, or do you want to take the more negative perspective? Like Colin highlighted, he thinks that this is lacking self-awareness and entitlement. Now, you can absolutely look at it through that way and say he has no self-awareness, he's got entitlement, he thinks he's deserving of this, etc., etc. Learn to walk before you run, all that. And I can look at it from a completely opposite end of the spectrum, where I'm like, one, he's just super excited. This is a kid who got drafted. He's just a little bit too excited, right? He's a little bit too giddy right now in this moment. He just got drafted. He's going to New York. Everything's larger than life right now, and he's feeling on top of the world right now. It doesn't mean that you're lacking self-awareness or that you have entitlement. You could say maybe a little bit of immaturity, but nothing in a big measurable way. Not in a way where it's just like you're an immature person. It's like, no, you need to mature a little bit, which is everyone needs to mature a little bit. I still need to mature a bit. You need to mature. Everyone needs to mature. So it's like not the worst thing. But Colin, one of Colin's best takes of all time that he's ever had, and he shared this years ago at this point, and it was one of the first takes that I listened to Colin where I was really kind of like, I like how Colin unpacks certain things, and it made me like him even more, quite frankly. He talks about how football doesn't live in the past. He compared it to baseball, and wherever, and it's true. Baseball is so all about the past. Babe Ruth, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it's just non-stop, and it's all about records and stats, and it's endless. And every baseball game you watch, they're always bringing up someone in the past. You know, no matter who it is, it's always someone from the past. And football just doesn't do that as much. And I love that. You know, football is very much focused on the present. And I'm sure Abdul Carter understands the players of the past. But when you have someone like Taylor who played in essentially I guess the 80s, he's had his whole career, retired, lived multiple lifetimes before Abdul Carter was even like born, essentially. Like, you're just talking about so far in the past that I don't even know if someone like an Abdul Carter is even really looking at someone like a Taylor as inspiration at this point. Seriously, I just like think about the kids right now who are being born and raised watching the NFL. They're looking at Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. I guarantee you got more kids that are like, I want to be Lamar Jackson than Tom Brady right now. Maybe Tom Brady because he's lingered a little bit more, and obviously he's kind of like next level, and he's still in the media. But it's just I just guarantee you, 8-year-olds right now, 10-year-olds, 4-year-olds, like they're looking at Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. They're not like, I want to let it rip like Brett Favre did. It's just not the way it works, and I think that's a great thing. That's a great thing. I talked about this before when we talked about what does legacy mean in professional sports, and Saquon Barkley breaking that, the rushing record, et cetera, et cetera. And I was just like, these are things that we just don't really talk about. That's why I always reference this. I always reference Peyton Manning and Brett Favre and, think of any other great, especially quarterbacks of the past. Like, we barely bring those quarterbacks up. And when we do, it's in passing. It's in random, like, oh, Brett Favre, he threw an interception in that one game, and then we like move on. Peyton Manning, he won that Super Bowl, and then it just goes away. We're focused here. We have more conversations now about, again, Brock Purdy, who no one sees is on the level of a Peyton Manning. Players come and go. And so I get it, that especially the media, because the media is so much closer to these players. I can only imagine if I'm fortunate enough to do this, to keep making videos and keep talking sports for like 30 years or, whatever it is. And now, for someone who's been so deeply invested and hyper-focused on Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, and then, 30 years from now, some random 18-year-old, 19-year-old is like, oh, Patrick Mahomes was trash. Josh Allen's not good. Lamar Jackson never won. He was gifted those MVPs. I'll be like, bro, you don't know what you're talking about. Lamar Jackson was electric. Josh Allen was a monster. Patrick Mahomes led one of the most, consistent, dominant teams in NFL history. Like, they were going to go for a three-peat till the Eagles dominated them. Like, it was just like, and so that's what happens. And I hear my dad, he's big in baseball and he knows everything with baseball. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. The guy, you could say like, oh, who won the World Series in like 1976? And like, he just knows it. It's just crazy. And he's always telling me about like, oh, you got to understand just how amazing Willie Mays was. And that's actually perfect. Willie Mays, this is a perfect example. Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, absolute monsters, goats, right? All time legends. And I grew up playing baseball very competitively. That was actually the best sport that I played. And I was all about Ken Griffey Jr. I was all about the current players. Like Hank Aaron, Willie Mays. It was like, yeah, I knew they were great. And you could see footage of them making catches, but like the footage is so old. Like, we can even just see the highlights here. Like, it's not the video that like I'm watching in modern day. And I'm like, yeah, no, like I'm naming other players. I remember when I was also playing basketball competitively, I let my hair grow and it got real long and it was, out there. And someone was like, oh man, look at you. You're looking like Dr. J. And I was like, nah, I'm Ben Wallace. And it's like, really? If I'm going to choose between Ben Wallace and Dr. J, the answer is obviously Dr. J. Obviously Dr. J. But I was like, nah, I'm Ben Wallace. And it was like, you just don't understand it. You don't understand the depth of it. You're looking what's right in front of you. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I really appreciate that, because I don't want to be the guy and be the person and exist in a sports world where we're just always like, You know, everything was better in the past. Oh, Josh Allen is great, but he's no Peyton Manning. Patrick Mahomes is great, but you know, so and so was better. Like I don't love that. I like focusing on the players of today and comparing them to each other. But like that's why I always took issue with the constant like, oh, Patrick Mahomes if he wins, you know, he's gonna be the GOAT and this or that, and it's just like it's uninteresting to me to look at right now while all these players are playing. Like quite frankly, I got sucked into that when we were with Michael Jordan and LeBron James. And because of it, I wasted years not actually watching LeBron James through the lens that I should have watched him. Instead, I kept looking at the lens of like, well, MJ's better, MJ's better, MJ's better. Well, MJ wouldn't have done that. MJ wouldn't have done that. And I wasted and overlooked many of LeBron's brilliance and greatness. And that's like a slightly, you know, that's the cousin of this conversation that we're kind of having here right now. These players want to exist in their own world, not necessarily off the players of the past. Now, to be clear, you still want to respect the past, and those players set the ground for these other players to exist. Those players of the past are what helped make the sport so popular and kept moving the needle, because without those players, then there is no league, and it's certainly not worth the amount of money that it's worth. So it's a full circle complementary relationship, right? It's kind of like respect your elders, but also like you're allowed to live your own life. Like you are just as much part of this league as the players who played in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. Like it's a balance, and I'm just not going to I'm not going to rip someone who's just not perfectly understanding that balance a mere week after being drafted to the New York Giants, right? Like his life is literally larger than life right now. He is feeling unstoppable. And he does need to be humbled. He does need to get beat. He does need to get his bell rung like I said that about all the young players. You know, he hasn't really tasted that necessarily. You know, he hasn't felt that yet, and he will. And that's how you grow, that's how you mature, and that's how you evolve. So, you know, what do you make of Rookie's unique request? Yeah, listen, at the end of the day, I wish he didn't do it. And if I was a big New York Giants fan, or I'm running the Giants, or I'm the coach, I'm like, oh, come on, man, that's not the energy that I want right now. But I look at it more as a learning experience rather than being like, this is a sign that he's entitled and lacks the self-awareness. I mean, listen, a lot of people who are 20, 21, 22, 23 lack the self-awareness. There's a lot of people who are 55, 60 who lack the self-awareness. So if anything, I think this would be more of an interesting, you know, conversation to be like, hey, you know what? You're in the NFL now. Don't necessarily say those things out loud. Fans also don't like to hear it. Imagine you have a lot of fans who are 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 and beyond, and they love Taylor. And they see that when you do this, it's a little bit disrespectful. I know you didn't mean it disrespectful, but that's how they see it. Listen, fans, they're the lifeblood of the NFL. Fans are the reason why one day you're probably going to sign, why you're going to make $300 million plus, you know, throughout your career, okay? Because of the fans. We're here ultimately for the fans. Yeah, we want to win. Yeah, you're here for your family. Yeah, you're doing it for your players and your brothers and sisters on the team. But like, fans are fans. So you always want to do right by the fans. A lot of fans see this as disrespectful. Just kind of understand. Again, it just becomes a conversation more than anything. So yeah, it's not the biggest deal in the world. So, but you know, what are you gonna do? Those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Abdul Carter disrespecting the players of the old? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.